We're living in such bizarre times that I don't even think, I have a wild imagination, I don't think I ever imagined. I was reading this morning of an article that was sent to me by something to give you an idea. See, we're in America, the biggest thing we have to deal with is our politics and our pettiness and our stupidity of what we deem good, normal, right, moral, sane, and it's all, by the way, immoral, and it's all gone off the tracks. Not going to tell you anything at this point that I can say that would be good and edifying there. But let's juxtapose it with what's going on, for example, in places like Canada, where pastors are being arrested for preaching the gospel. This has to do a little bit with COVID situations, but to show you the juxtaposition, this is not an opinion, my friends. This is a fact. This is what's going on. It's not my opinion, okay? My opinion could be something else. But these are pastors who are trying to preach what the content of their message. I'm not their judge. Yet, for the most part, these pastors that are being arrested are Protestants, while other faiths, use your imagination, are free to worship without being molested or disturbed at any cost. I read another article this morning, was sent to me, about what's going on in Algiers. In Algiers, Protestants are being arrested. Protestant pastors. Protestant churches are closed. And the reason, by the way, Roman Catholic churches can stay open in Algiers, and mosques can stay open, but not Protestant churches. See, there's a shift happening on the horizon. This is not my message, by the way, but I'd like to plant a seed for you all as to why I take this so seriously. There is a drive to get rid of, to dismiss, to quell, and to extinguish a personal expression of faith for individuals or entities gathering as organizations in the interest of promoting the Bible. And because we, here in this country, and I'm just going to say it like it is, have gotten so glib and so laissez-faire about our spirituality and our religion, that we can't, I believe, even imagine the persecution that's going on halfway around the globe. Not even, by the way, Canada's just to the north of us, while we basically sit and discuss things that have absolutely no relevance or consequence to the future, both ours and our children's future have no relevance at all. We are so wrapped up in things that have and pertain to nothing. Yet, when I read these, I think to myself, this is why I come here. This is why I'll still come here if there's just a handful of people gathered here. Because what we are doing here every single Sunday, and what some other churches in other places that are doing exactly like we are doing, is preserving something that the vast majority of people don't even want to open up their eyes to understand. See, it's easy to join a religion. Hear me out. It's easy to join a religion where you're told what to do. All you got to do is say 5 prayers on this 5th day of the month, light a candle, bow down, do this a couple of times, and presto, you've made it in. Oh, by the way, if you listen to someone say, absolvete, you're absolved. Those are just the words of a human being and not of God. Only God can forgive sins. This is why I've told you. If you are going to be a Christian, understand what you believe, why you believe it, and now I'm going to add one more thing. If you don't care enough about your faith and your God to fight for it, then you deserve to lose it. And I'm going to say that again. If you do not care enough to fight for your rights to worship freely, your God and your choice, and you don't care to fight for that, you deserve to lose it. Do you understand? You deserve to lose it. Now, I'm not saying that these folks in far-flung countries are not fighting. The difference is, by the way, I mentioned Algiers, they are under a Muslim, basically that whole country is Muslim. So there is a law in effect that says that one cannot freely, see, we just take for granted the rights we have here, that one cannot freely worship of that individual's choosing, their religion of their choice. Here we have that, and I'm getting to the point right now where I'm just wishing that there would be more Christians that would raise up, and I'm not talking about violence, I'm not talking about protests where we deface and we do things like animals do, but as citizens, law-abiding citizens of this country who have been given a law for us, to protect us, to govern us, and yet we have, for the most part, become laissez-faire and indifferent to that law, that eventually that indifference of the people will make the difference between those who freely worship, regardless of the cost, versus those who will just go along with being shut down, shut up, and silenced. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not intend to go out silently. And I'm not saying that there's somebody who's trying to silence me, although there is. I'm just saying it's time for us all to wake up and understand that there is a battle. And the battle is not about whether you're red or blue or whether you're black or white. My friends, that's how, if you want to call it what it is, that's how the devil, which I'll talk about today, that's how the devil has managed. Not by actually turning people against, but simply from disinterest, from what C.S. Lewis pointed out in his wonderful books on the screw tape letters. All you got to do is go back, revisit, and see we're living in very perilous times for those people who do not care to make their voice heard. Now, one might say, well, I'm afraid to make my voice heard. Go back and read history. And there is a plethora of world history of people who were too scared to speak out, too scared to do anything. And I'll just say this, those people's fates are written on stone tablets somewhere, or ashes scattered somewhere, but silenced voices. And as I said, I will not go quietly. Now, if that's happening somewhere else, and it's happening to the north of us, I'm going to say to you, put yourselves on alert. And don't say it won't happen here. Because a year and a half ago, somebody told me that we were all going to be shut down and we're all going to be wearing masks and forced to be vaccinated and treated like morons, I'd say, no way. That's only a small sliver of America. Never mind, that'll hit you later. I'd said, no way. But here we are, a year and a half plus later. So what I'm trying to tell you is don't think that it can't happen here. Don't think that your rights to worship cannot be taken away. Don't think for a minute that this is all safe and secure. It's not. Now, I'm only one person. What I'm calling on, this is my message before the message, I'm calling on you. This is not like any other call I've ever made. I'm just calling on you to be vigilant, to recognize that people are actually trying to take away your freedom to worship. And failure to recognize that will be your and mine, our worst mistake. So if we take a little page from the international playbook of what's going on, I say, I'm going to do what the Bible tells me to do against the devil, and that is to stand, and therefore stand, because having done all, which means I've prayed, I've faithed, I've opened my mouth, and I have not stood quietly in the midst of people trying to take away the sole mooring of my soul. No, thank you. I'm asking you to do the same. And as I said, I don't say things like we do violent acts. We don't do anything in violence. We don't do the things that what I've called, what you see happening out in society, that's animalistic behavior. That is not citizens that are proud Americans. Those are just animals who don't care about other people in society. I care first and foremost about God and then his people. So as long as I have breath in my lungs, I'll do my part, but hey, I'm only one person, so I'm calling on you to stand and do your part too. And that means that we don't get into this collective, we'll just kind of sit back and see what happens. Because I see the writing already happening. You know, the pastor here in California that spoke up, that said it doesn't matter in the midst of COVID, while they said they were fining him and they were threatening him, and I don't like him, by the way. I don't like him for his choice of words towards my late husband or even towards myself. However, I'd say I'd put that aside for the fact that he was willing to be arrested to stand for what is right. I'll take that person any day who will stand for Christ and not buckle under the pressure of society, under the bullies of social media, or under the pressures of whatever it is you face, because at the end of the day, if you haven't registered, you will stand in front of him, including the cowards, including the fearful, including those who said, I just can't. This is bigger than any war that has ever been waged on any territory, on any front, anywhere, on any place on this earth. So if you're not ready for the battle, I suggest you put on your boots and get ready, because this one might be an interesting ride. And as I said, this person here is not going quietly. So, I wonder, I'm going to ask you something. Some of you probably don't like what I'm going to ask. I do have a message. We are going to get started in a minute, but I'm going to ask you something, because I know what my answer is. You know, 5 years ago, if there was a draft for this country, to defend this country, 5 years ago, if you had asked me 5 years ago, I'd say, sign me up. I'm going to go, put me wherever you need me. I'll do anything. I'll shoot, I'll clean, I'll cook, I'll do anything for this country. Because I saw 5 years ago delusionally. Now I see truly. I see people that are not willing to fight for this country, that make a mockery of the men and women that died for your and my freedom. And I see people who are too stupid to learn American history, to understand we are watching history, my friends, repeat itself on this soil. How could that be? Our forefathers came here to get away from religious persecution. How did we end up here? How did this happen? No answer. That's because we've become a society of weak-minded, weak-willed, and non-God-fearing people. That's what happens when you lose the moorings with God. Now, I'm telling you this because I'm braced for whatever's going to come. And I sure as heck don't know what is going to come my way. But I know it comes as I'm watching and seeing different things. It's to the outspoken ones. It's to the ones who won't shut up, who won't stand quiet, who will not be silenced. So whatever that is, I'm telling you, I'm not wanting to go out and make trouble. I'm just wanting to stand and defend and protect this body called the Church of Jesus Christ. I know, by the way, that sounds a little bit strange because he and he alone protects his church, but it does require footmen on the ground. I will be one of those, and I'm looking for men and women who are willing to stand in solidarity with me. And in this case, now I'm talking to my whole audience out there, whoever you are in television or computer land listening to me, don't let your freedom be taken away. Don't let your freedom to worship, your freedom to choose freely how you worship be taken away. If we don't push back at the first, you know that saying, that first push will either collapse the door or drive the enemy back, at least for a time. I'm asking people to help me hold the door and push back the enemy for a time. I'll say this one last thing and then I'm done. I guess I don't have the capacity to understand why people are not fighting already. I want you to you can't look in my eye because there are so many people, but try and look in my eye. Why are we just standing around and waiting for something to happen? Does anybody care? So, here we are. There might be some folks out there, like the Bible says, 7,000 that haven't bowed their knee to Baal. Well, I'm believing for a great miracle, for people to come, for people to hear, for people to receive, to be touched, to be taught, but also to stand and fight. And I mean fight for your freedom. It came at such a price, I don't know why we wouldn't fight.